Welcome to Accelerate. I hope you guys are having a great morning so far. I think that country song was kind of fun, Jan. Thank you so much for your recommendation. Welcome to Accelerate, you guys. This is our last webinar of the year, which is crazy to me. And Thanksgiving is next week, which is crazier to me. I feel like this whole year went by so fast. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I do feel like it felt like a long year, but it did all of a sudden go by pretty quickly. But we have a good topic for today that I think is really timely. But first, I want to jump into some awesome October feedback that you guys gave me. If you recall, in October, we talked about financial health. And I had a couple agents give me some really good success stories that they've had this past month. So I would love to highlight some of these stars. So first, we have Karen McKeon from our North Center office. So Karen told me that she reviewed some automatic expenses and got rid of some that she didn't need. And she also hired a firm to create a trust for her, which I think is amazing, taking little steps at a time to get ourselves back on a good road to financial health. So Karen also said, I like business planning in November rather than December because that month can be overwhelming because of the holidays. I completely agree. If I had it my way, we'd probably business plan in October, but we never seem to move that fast. But thank you so much, Karen, for your feedback. And I'm so glad that you got some of those financial things in order for yourself. So then we have Monique Sandberg from our East Lincoln Park office. She shared a great story. So she said she closed a listing that was on the market for 5 days, listed another condo in the same neighborhood, and it was under contract in 14 days. She worked with an out-of-state rental client and found them an off-market apartment. She had them sign a tenant agreement, and they agreed to pay her commission because the property owner was not co-oping. So you go, girl, proving your value and getting people to pay you what you're worth. I love hearing stories like that. Congratulations. Then we have Miss Holly Himmelman from Goose Island. Holly said that she grabbed some new clients from hosting open houses. I love open houses. And she said one will be writing ASAP. She said Accelerate encourages her to keep in touch with her clients. She's intentional with her questions, and she's listening intently as her clients share their thoughts and concerns. So thank you so much, Holly. I love to hear tried and true, picking up clients at open houses. That stuff always works. And then last, we have Miss Florence Lee from our Arlington Heights office. So Florence says, I have gotten so much support from my team lead, Susan, and encouragement from the other members. I may not always do the homework or catch every webinar, but I make it to all of our small team meetings. It's great to hear what others are doing and get feedback and ideas of how to manage challenging situations or implement marketing or prospecting strategies. With the team behind me, and the mentorship from Accelerate and my managing broker, I will have my most successful year at Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. I just closed my second $1 million plus listing and have a couple of listing agreements in place for next year with the exterior videos and photos already taken to be ready for the early spring market. I could have not ended Accelerate this year on a better note than having an agent success story like that. That is so wonderful, Florence. I'm so glad. And really, like, where the magic is with the small teams. So I love that you got a lot out of your small team accountability group. Thank you to your team lead for being such a great team lead. And I love to hear that you've had your best year in real estate. That's kind of odd for this year. So congratulations to you. Hats off to you. And I hope for an even more successful one next year. All right, so let's jump into our topic for the month, which we all know is business planning. When I was looking for a guest coach for this webinar, I pulled a couple of our managing brokers and I said, guys, I'm looking for an agent who really does business planning right. And someone who lives and breathes, with their business plan in hand and who does one consistently. And Jan was actually one of the first agents that was recommended to me. So I'm super excited to have you here today. Did you want to just say hi to everyone and just give a little intro?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on your guest coaching here. My name's Jan Morel. I'm in the Hinsdale office and been at essentially since they opened up an office in Hinsdale, which I think was 2019.
That sounds right.
office opened in like March, and I joined in June. Trisha Roberto is our managing broker, and she was our managing broker at Colwell before 50 of us moved over.
Yeah.
And so really excited to be here. I was raised in Hinsdale, and I live in Clarendon, lived here for 20 years. And pretty much the entire time that my wife and I have been married. In that time, we've raised three daughters, 15, 17, and 19. So one in college, two in high school. It's been a really great experience. And I've been a broker since '06, but I'll tell you a little bit about that. I was a civil engineering undergrad from U of I. And I think part of that goes into why I have such a robust business plan is partly because of my engineering background. And so I can go into any detail you want, Angela.
Okay, awesome. I love your background in engineering. My husband is actually an engineer as well. So I totally understand how your brains work. And I feel like if he was ever in sales, he would also be kind of like you and have a really solid plan like that and pay really good attention to the details. So we're super excited to have you here. I've never had an agent on for business planning. Typically, I bring a managing broker on that gives like tips and advice on how to business plan. So I'm really excited to have you here today on because I feel like you can give really good perspective, from an agent point of view on why a business plan is so important. So I would love to just get into some Q&A if that works for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. Let me stop sharing my screen and maybe you guys can see our faces a little bit better. All right. So let's start with this. So tell us why you think a business plan is important to you and kind of how it impacts your business.
So if you don't have a business plan in place, in my opinion, it's really hard to know whether you are, if you aren't setting goals that are achievable and that have, data behind them, kind of, I just don't understand exactly how you can, focus on growth without essentially having a bunch of that just be dumb luck. Okay. So I think luck plays a huge part in what we do. I really do think it does. I mean, sometimes you'll have months where you're like, how I cannot catch a break, like I overpriced this, I underpriced that. It just feels like nothing's working. Then you'll have a month where things kind of just all fall in your lap, and you're like, wow, I did not expect to win that listing presentation. And so I do think there's a huge luck component in what we do, but that we can't control. And so like I want to talk about the things that we can control, which is really having a good handle on what your upcoming pipeline is and where your marketing dollars are going. And so what I do is, so I was an engineer undergrad. I spent 10 years, helping developers design and build their developments, like real estate developments. And I decided I didn't want to necessarily be in a cubicle all day of my life. And so I got my broker's license in '06. I joined a small development firm. To be honest, it failed. The development firm failed. And so after 6 years, I decided I'm done trying to make that work. And that's when I decided to focus 100% on brokerage. And when I did that, I made the decision that I was going to, treat it like a real business. Like I didn't have a choice. I had 3 kids and a wife. I can't, this is not a part-time gig. And so I had no choice. I had to make it work. And so I went through an exhaustive process to kind of create a branding for myself, which I don't necessarily want to talk about unless you want me to. But I would say that transition from, hey, everybody, I'm your friend, to, hey, I'm a trusted real estate resource, was something I had to manage. But that led me to, attending some like 2 or 3 day workshops where there was a discussion about branding, but there was also discussion about business planning. And that's where I was able to get the info of how to really create a business plan. And I've been doing it every year since 2013. Okay.
Awesome.
So I tend to do my business planning in like October and early November. Then I usually schedule a meeting with my managing broker just to kind of walk through it and make sure that I'm not lying to myself or missing opportunities. So what I have a Google Doc that I have every single year, the business plan from the previous years. I have the goals I set and the marketing plan for every year since 2013 in one Google spreadsheet. I essentially copy it, and then I delete, kind of like, I don't delete everything, but I look at every single aspect of my marketing dollars, how I'm spending it. And I look at, I have a running list of my buyer clients and a running list of my listing clients, and listing pursuits. I assign a percentage. This is something I manage every other day, every day, but like I really focus on it in October, and I assign a percentage chance that I'm going to be representing that buyer is going to close with me as their agent, and an expected volume for that client. And that totals up at the bottom and transfers over to a goal setting sheet. And on the listing side, I do the same thing: expected listing price, expecting chance that they're going to hire me a listing broker, and then I reduce, then I multiply it times like 0.7, because sometimes you get a listing but it doesn't sell, and that hasn't happened here in the last couple of years. But I think when this market turns back over to a buyer's market, that's going to be a reality for us. And again, so as I go into the next year, I know what I have under contract with buyers and what I have under contract with listings. I know what listings I have already signed up, and then I have these projections for buyers and sellers. I add that all up, and that's kind of like a baseline of like, that's like what I think is my known business for next year. And then I have to make some assumptions. And this is where I have to be like, okay, there are 15 additional people that are going to call me to list their homes. I'm going to land 11 of those listings. They're going to average this amount of volume per home. And then I add that into the mix. Same with buyers. There's another 8 buyers that I don't even know about that are going to call me, sometime next year, and they're going to close. And that's how I get to setting a goal for the year, in terms of volume goal. That volume goal, then then we all have different splits, right? And so I count for our splits, and my marketing matrix is broken out by week for the entire year. And so what I do is I break down, I'm looking up at it. That's why I'm looking up on my second screen. I break down it into like 3 major categories: farms, past clients and sphere, and then advertising. And so like under farms, like if you have a neighborhood farm, or sometimes it can be geographic farm. Sometimes it can be like a farm that is, I don't know, maybe you farm your church or something. Okay. So, you might, you're going to do different things for different groups. So for my sphere, I'm going to have Popeyes, letters, special invitations. I'm going to have, I do AdWorks. I include that in there. E-newsletter, which is free. Right. And then for my advertising, I have some paper advertising, social media. And then I have, like, I know which events I'm probably going to be sponsoring. And all of that is essentially broken down into I insert the dollar amount in each little quadrant by week of next year. So I have a plan for 2024. Obviously, if I'm off by a week, it doesn't matter. Like, that's not the point. The point is that I know like how much money I'm going to spend on my farm. I know how much money I'm going to spend on digital and paper advertising, and how much I'm spending on my sphere, because I want to know I want to know those breakdowns, right? But I mean, I go so far as to calculate, so I know I'm going to be doing. So for instance, I have an expert letter I send out in February. That's going to 375 people. The cost of that, I have a 2-ounce stamp. I also know that I have to buy, I'm going to have a brochure of mine in there. That's going to cost money. So I know that mailer is going to cost me $1,000. Okay. And so like, that's an example. So then the 1,000 goes into that little square for that farm in that week of the year. So I know when I'm spending my money.
Yeah.
Okay. All of it wraps up as a marketing amount in my business plan. So I've got projected commissions, my split, and then I've got expenses, right? So on the expenses front, I have like a part-time assistant. I have tracked over the years. I know approximately how much money I'm going to spend in office supplies or expenses, right? So I've got assistant costs, I've got other expenses, and then I have marketing. And so now I know how much of my gross revenue is going to be offset by expenses. That leads to essentially my net revenue. So that's that's my take home, I guess you could say, right? And then I'll be, of course, taxed on that, which taxes have gotten so complicated. I don't even know, like, I no longer try to like look at what my after-tax take home is. It's too complicated. I just focus on what my pre-tax is and then let the chips fall where they may.
And let them figure out. Can I interrupt you with 2 questions?
Yeah.
So I find it so interesting that you've been doing this for basically a good 10 years, right? And you've copied what you've taken from last year and kind of adjusted it. And now that you've been doing this over like a longer period of time, how on point are your projections? Like, are you getting better at projecting over the years of what your business is going to look like in the next year because you've been doing this so long?
So I think I thought I was, and then COVID changed everything. And so like, this is part of where part of what I'm going to say is like where like the luck thing kind of comes in. So yes. I had a monster year in 2021, my biggest year ever. And the next year in 2022, when people had like their biggest years ever, I went in the opposite direction. Like I went down like 20%. Oh, and that was partly because of my business plan. So I live in Clarendon Hills, and so everyone has to run their businesses however they want. My business plan is I focus on Clarendon Hills and about a 5-minute drive around it, and I don't worry about anything outside of that. And that is great for lifestyle. You get more listings in an area you already work. Like I could go out and get a listing in Elmhurst. All that's going to do is get me more listings in Elmhurst. So I don't necessarily want that. Okay. This year I wouldn't turn that down, but in past years I would be like, I don't want another. I will refer that out. Okay. So I'm a hyper local business plan. The problem is that Clarendon is small. And when COVID came and our inventory went down really low, there was only so much. There was only so much to get. And I had to make, so that was an adjustment. Now, luckily I was adjusting off of an absurdly high year. And so it like I knew I was never going to replicate the year that I had. So it's not like I can't feed my family. I'm just telling you that like that was a conscious decision I made. And I don't regret, focusing on a very specific small area and letting other things just kind of happen and not worry about getting a listing outside of it. I don't regret that. But since you asked about my prognostication, I did prognosticate down off my high, but I still didn't achieve it. And then this year, I prognosticated down again off of even what I had done last year, and I'm not going to achieve that either.
Mm.
And but I mean, I think everybody's down this year.
Yeah, most agents are down. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I applaud anybody who's grown their market share. And so the other thing is that I'm having to adjust. My kids are getting older. So like I need to adjust how I'm communicating with people. I no longer run into parents with 1-year-olds at school anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so somebody that's going from, I would say that I think it's awesome that people grew this year. I'm guessing most of those people went from like 3 to 8 million, okay, or something, where it's something where like you're up and coming and you can grow in any market. I think it's awesome. And so what's hard to do is maintain like a super high, like my highest year was almost 40. And so like how I did not know how I was going to replicate 40. Right. And sure enough, I haven't.
You haven't, right?
Because
I think those were wonky. That was a wonky year too. We have a comment. It's definitely not an exact science. I don't know how anyone would have been able to predict the COVID market. I had a huge lull this past summer, which was a first, and now I'm getting busy again. I think it's all about putting your head down and working every day to fill your pipeline. Amen. Right? I mean, I'm sure, Jan, part of your business plan is also prospecting, right? And making sure that you're staying in touch with these people. And that actually leads me to my second question I want to ask you. I know you put your marketing in 3 different buckets. Do you set those set amounts of how much you're spending in each bucket depending on which ones worked for you well in the past? Like, is that dependent on where your actual sources of business are coming from? If you see that, you're getting a ton of business from these farming mailers, do you put more money into the farming mailers? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think the hard part that I am coming to the realization is that I'm going to have the biggest struggle I'm going to have for the next 10 years of my career is how to stay relevant with the people that have 1 to 10-year-olds. And so I've decided, like, I've gotten into social media, which I don't really like, but that, like, I have a great relationship with like all my guy friends in town, but I'm a guy. Okay. And so what's hard for me to do is to connect on an emotional level with wives. Okay. And so like I made a decision. I feel like, I need to be involved in Instagram. And so I hired somebody.
Good for you.
So I made a change. Yeah. But the problem is it's really expensive. Mm-hmm. And so when Thad and Mike say that all the marketing money you spend is just a replacement for time of just talking to people.
Yeah.
I totally believe that.
I totally agree.
And so like if I didn't have if I was not married, if I was like a single person and I could just do whatever I wanted, I would go to every single event in glad hand with every single person, and I wouldn't have to spend $1
and make new friends. Yeah.
And but I can't do that. I've got a wife over there, and I've got kids, and so like I can't just be like, hey guys, have fun going to the movie. I'm gonna go, to the Christmas walk or whatever. So that's the hard thing is there's cycles in life and how those. I'm learning that I'm having to adjust. I had it easy when I saw people every day at school pickup.
Yeah. Yeah, gosh, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's a reality of your evolving business. So, I love how you are so intentional with your business plan. I love how when you came into this industry full time and you're like, I don't have a choice. Like, this has to work. I have to treat it like a business. This is ultimately how we want everybody to treat their business. So you were like the shining example of that. And see, guys, how like it doesn't matter what production level you're at, everybody struggles. And even when a business is growing and evolving, we struggle to stay relevant. So I really appreciate you sharing that story. I do have a question that was sent to us from Brittany. She said, just out of curiosity, do you do more business on the listing or buy side? In terms of listings, what has worked best for you in terms of marketing to obtain those listing appointments? I want to make the shift to listings. This year so far, I've closed 13 deals, only 2 on the listing side. They were all word of mouth referrals, so I never spent any money on marketing. Just not sure where to start on that. Any tips?
Well, from the first time I went to that first 2-day seminar about real estate, which was kind of like if you've heard of Ninja, it was like kind of a ninja-y type thing. Although I did Ninja also, which led me to a whole different um Ninja is amazing. So if you haven't done it, you should.
Yeah.
But ever since that point, the first speaker the first seminar I went to, he's like, we don't focus on buyers. Buyers just happen. Okay. So all of our marketing money, none of it is attributed to buyers. It's all about getting listings. If you have listings, buyers will just fall into your lap. If you don't have listings, it'll be harder to get buyers. And of course, you won't have sellers. So I'm looking at this thing at my list here, and it's all I'm doing is trying to get people to recommend me to their friends for selling, or I guess directly to get them to sell. But in my sphere, I don't ask them to sell. I ask them for friends.
Yeah.
And family.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I'm always surprised how some agents are really buyer heavy. Brittany, were you working in like the rental market a lot? Like, how did you pick up all those buyers, I wonder? But yeah, I mean, listings are king. So Karen is asking, is there a template that you use? Do you have a
Well,
template?
I made my own business plan template from scratch.
Yeah.
So it's not it's not a template that I bought online. And so I don't have a template created for it. So I don't know how to answer. I guess I don't have a template. I just created it from scratch.
I have a good answer for that, which leads me into, because we're coming up on the 9:30 mark, leads me into talking about our company business planning session. So I'm hoping that you guys have attended yours in your region or even outside of your region. I don't care which one you go to. We have our Northwest region one coming up tomorrow. And then we have our last 2 in Michigan and Indiana. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Then we have our city region the last week of November. And then we have our last ones in Michigan and Indiana the first week of December. I really hope you guys go to that. We give you a booklet. We give you a template. It's not as intricate as the one that Jan uses. I do have a spreadsheet template that Amy and Kevin have used in the past. It's very intricate. Sometimes it's a little too intricate. It feels overwhelming for some people. But if you're interested in something really detailed like that, please reach out to me because I can certainly share that template with you too. But we will give you a booklet too to use at business planning that I think is super, super helpful. Brittany said, I did 1 co-listing rental with an agent from my office and the potential tenant turned into a $500,000 buyer. Awesome. All my buyers, though, were just through referrals from other buyers. That's awesome. Well, I think that speaks volumes to how you know how to service buyers the right way, Brittany, and that can certainly translate into the listing side. I would recommend that you watch Amy's perfect listing presentation and or attend a Getting What You're Worth workshop because that'll really help you finesse your listing side too. Lisa says, I'm not sure if anyone is interested, but I just signed up for a digital marketing and social media certificate course. She's been resistant, but figured out that it's not going anywhere and I better dive in. Lisa, thank you. If you want to share that info in the app, that would be great. Karen struggles with categories and what data to pull to use as a predictor. I clearly am not an engineer. Karen, if you want that spreadsheet from me, please email me and I'm happy to share it with you. Please come to your in-person business planning event. We actually do pen to paper, like we're going to present to you for about 45 minutes, but then we're actually going to work on your business plan. So when I give you the booklet at the event, we're going to walk through each segment of that booklet and we are going to talk and idea share with people at your table. And then you're going to actually work on writing your business plan. I really had a goal this year to make sure that agents left this session with at least a started business plan and not just leaving it up to you to figure it out on your own. So I really think it's worth your guys' time to show up to one of those. So I want to review homework really quick. Your homework, I would love for you to RSVP for and attend your local regional business in-person event. Just a side note, if you cannot make it in person, we are doing a virtual one in mid-December for those who may have missed it. But I really want you to come in person if you can swing it. And you can come to any of them. It doesn't matter which region, just show up. Continue working on solidifying your 2024 business plan. Remember, you want it to be a full year. So you want your November and December production allocated for in that business plan. So you can feel like you're going to project a little bit better for 2024. And of course, we're reminding you to prospect. So I want to give a couple reminders. We have no programming next week because of Thanksgiving. Your last accountability group meeting is going to be Wednesday, November 29th. I will post the agenda in the app after the webinar, like I always do, but really your last group meeting, guys, I hope you can all make it and commit to each other to show up and, say goodbye, make a plan to keep in touch. Our company coaching programming is going to be a little bit different next year. So we have some exciting things coming down the pipeline that we're in conversations with and planning right now. So more to come on that, but I really hope you guys have enjoyed your small group dynamics and have enjoyed what Amy and I have put together for you this year. Save the date. We have our end of year celebration party that will be Wednesday, December 6th at 9:30 in the Glenview area. I believe it's going to be at Wildfire. I do have an invitation that we're putting together right now that we'll send to you guys. We would love to have you guys there. We're just going to celebrate how hard we worked this year. We're going to have some brunch. We're going to have some fun chats and conversations. Amy and I will both be there. So we'd love to have you guys there just to kind of celebrate all of our hard work and really making it to the end. A lot of your colleagues have fallen off during the year. It's a year-long program, is a long time. So be super proud of yourselves that you've stuck it out in kind of a tough market. So Jan, thank you so much for being here. I think everyone agrees you provided such a good perspective on business planning. Are you willing, if anyone wants to reach out to you to kind of pick your brain, are you open to that?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. So guys, reach out to him. He's in the Hinsdale office. Thank you so much for being here today. You guys have a great week. Enjoy your last accountability group meetings. And then I hope to see you on December 6th. Okay. Thanks guys and have a great day.